Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear us, and I would like to welcome you to our webinar, close to the end of the year webinar, number 46. And today we're going to be talking about oilfield purchases in RigER. And by the way, my picture is right here on the screen. My name is Nikolai, I'm VP of Sales, Marketing, and Business Development at RigER. Again, those of you who are new today to RigER webinars, we would like always to highlight the ease of connecting with our team or via any social media channels. We're pretty active there, so you can see how through Instagram to Facebook and LinkedIn, which is a professional network. We're always posting the latest news and the exciting events that happens here at RigER. So feel free to follow us and contact us by any of the means that you can see on the screen. And there's also an old school phone. You can reach out to us as well. So today's topic is the oilfield purchases in RigER, and it's a very interesting one because it's come up in a number of conversations that we've had with our clients as well as our potential clients. So it's been a known point of interest, and we've decided to dedicate a specific webinar to this topic and how to handle RigER, how to handle purchases in RigER. So today's agenda here and the presenters of the webinar on the screen. So some of you, again, who've been with us for some time know the people. Those of you who haven't, you'll get to see them as soon as you sign up and start being a user of RigER. So Gleb, VP of Operations, Arsen is a product manager and a project manager, and Indre is our support lead. So those are the people that are the front line sort of people that get to work with the clients of RigER. So today we're going to be talking about how to do the purchases, how to do the purchases of rental equipment, and how to do the purchases of the consumables. We need to be clear that there are two different classes of the assets in RigER, and you can track and enter them differently and purchase them differently. You will see the live purchase function demo in RigER and see how a purchase is done. We'll also talk about an expense claim, which is an addition and part of the new feature of RigER purchasing. More on that when we get to that point. And you will also see the incoming service and chargeback function. It's also an addition that has been there, but more and more time and more people are starting to use it. So we wanted to make sure that we talk about that and explain how it should be used correctly in the system. And we will touch on the chargeback demo as well. So quick introduction. Again, I know that some of you are users, so you can go ahead and grab a cup of tea in the next couple of minutes. Just for those of you who are new with us today, so I'll talk a little bit about Belkasoft and RigER in general, so that you would know who are you working with and who you're hearing from today. So RigER is a flagship product of the Belkasoft Corporation, originate from Calgary, Alberta. Canadian oil patch capital, if you will, apart from the Grand Prairie, the operations capital, but we're more of a corporate capital here. And the key premises and the key focus area for our business as well as the product are to move forward the digitalization of the oilfield services and rental businesses in general, and promote the paperless enterprise as much as possible among the smaller scale businesses and the service businesses specifically. So custom solutions is another pillar of our product and the company because we understand that everyone is a little different. So operational efficiency means a little different things for different companies, and how processes are run is also different. So we do focus on configuring solutions for specific needs of clients, and integrations is another pillar that we based our operations and the product on. And it means that we do understand that everybody, when they run their businesses, they have a number of different applications that they want to see connected into one bigger patchwork of a smooth operational system in our organization. And with the huge array of products in the market that help with any different function, from accounting to the HR to the operations management and the financial reporting, there is a patchwork of different solutions. So what we focus on in our integrations commitment is that we always look at how we can integrate with some of the solutions that companies do not want to abandon, but rather enhance sort of their operations by using both RigER and an application of their choice for a specific function of the organization. So integrations is a big thing for many companies. So the product family of RigER is made of a number of different options, but here it's a quick snapshot again of what you can get when you start looking at a solution of purchase management and when you turn to RigER. So we are a cloud-based platform that allows you to connect to your information, operational information through internet in any place, wherever you are, when we set up the system for you. So, but that cloud system is also supported by the mobile application. So we understand again that everybody is carrying a mobile telephone these days. Everybody almost expects to be able to run their business on the go. So we have a series of mobile applications that connect to the main cloud database, connecting back office and the field at the same time. So we see that this is the advantage of RigER and how people are using more and more the system. Again, our family is made of not only the platform-specific applications such as cloud and mobile, but also we feature a number of different industry applications when we look at RigER as a platform. And one of them is the downhole tools. However, we have a series of other applications that allow to manage different kinds of equipment that you are renting out or servicing in the oil field. So the list is growing. So we are not listing all the different applications, but we pretty much can work with any equipment in the oil field to be able to track it. Oh, latest news. So we wanted to not to brag, but rather to bring forward and give kudos to our team who's on the call today, as well as part of the webinar hosting team. So just this past week, we received a notification that we've been recognized by the Energy Innovator Awards. So it's a pleasure always to work with the clients and being recognized by some of the media publications that are out there. So thank you, everyone. So speaking of RigER and where we are, so as I've mentioned, we originate from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. However, so the oil patch is oil patch pretty much anywhere in the world. However, our focus area specifically has been for the past 7 years in North America. So we have a number of locations where RigER has been used, and they're represented here on the map. So we have operations out of Houston. We have support that is now international support. So we have a desk in Ireland and the support here in Calgary to cover the North American needs. We have development now also international, both here in North America and in Eastern Europe. We have servers located primarily for the North American clients across the North America to ensure that the latency and the connection issue, whenever it may come up in somebody's operations, is dealt with effectively. And we do operate primarily now and help customers that work in the United States because of the uptick of the that market. So some of you, again, who are on the call may recognize the logos on this slide, but some may not know who are the family of the RigER community users. So there are some of them. It's not the complete list, but rather some with some of the most recent additions as well here. So you can see them. If you're new or thinking, so your logo can be on that list as well next time we're on the webinar. So feel free to reach out to us and ask any questions about the solution. And on the right-hand side, again, as I mentioned, as far as the sub-industry applications, we've listed a number of different types of equipment that are managed using RigER. So they vary from services such as control measurement systems to different kinds of equipment for surface and the surface equipment, the downhole tool ones as well. So RigER is pretty flexible as a solution. It can be set up for pretty much any business. So on that note, thank you for being with us in through this short, as much as I could, intro. And I wanted to pass microphone to Gleb Kovitz, who will dive a little deeper into the rental equipment purchases in RigER. So go ahead.
Thank you very much, Nikolai, for that great introduction of our company and our products. Hello, everyone. I'm glad to hear you here and to see you here, actually. So let's talk now about the topic of this webinar, purchases in RigER. So how we do that. And I'm going to start with a general overview and of the purchase module. So RigER system is pretty robust in tracking different side of your oilfield operations, including the rentals, including the services provision, and also we support your purchase operation as well. In the purchase module, we have 4 main documents. 3 of them are interconnected and interdependent because they are generated one from another one. So, and they usually go in the sequence. So we usually start with the purchase orders when we just order the equipment or consumables or some kind of supplies from our vendors, and we can track all the information that is contained in these orders. For example, name of the service or name of the consumables, their purchase price, their quantity, and information about the vendor. Then we go to the purchase invoice. So once we are provided with the invoice by our vendor, we can reflect this information also in the system to keep track of all our cash flow activities and actually the actual amount that we pay for the order that we've done. And the final document in this chain will be the bill of lading. Bill of lading is one of the most important documents in this chain because it actually lends the equipment or the consumables that we purchased to our inventory in the system. So it actually brings the quantity that we purchase to the availability for the dispatchers or for the field technicians. The purchase order document can have approval process in place and some kind of controls because it understands and the system allows you to approve purchase orders or to decline them if your purchase process is extended to the field also. So we can have different roles in the system that will have their own responsibilities and limitations in providing the purchase documents. The purchase invoices can be exported also to your accounting system. So that will match your accounting books in terms of the payables, and we can also compare it to the purchase invoices in RigER by using different purchase reports. And bill of lading supports all kind of different types of items in the system, meaning rental units, goods, consumables, as already said, and other. Expense claim is a newly developed document that allows you to track your field expenses, meaning that you can track your field guys' expenses, for example, hotels or accommodation or say meals, dining, fuel, etc. And also we have in the purchase module, we have additional documents. Fast purchase document allows you to automate your purchases by clicking, so you can perform your purchase on one screen, and when you click one button, the 3 of these documents will be generated automatically by the system. So it is usually used when you want to reflect all your historical purchases in the business and just to generate these purchases quickly. Chargeback, we will talk in more details a little bit later about that functionality. And rework and repair process can also be supported by RigER system. When you send your equipment to the rework process to the third-party vendors, they do some kind of repairs on the equipment and they provide you with a purchase invoices. So all these movements and type of records can be recorded in the system as well. So on that note, let me pass the mic and introduce Arsen, our product and project manager, who will talk a little bit about consumables purchases.
Yes, thank you, Gleb, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Glad to see you all here. All right, let's talk about the purchases. As Gleb has just indicated, we have a one-window operation that simplifies everything for the purchase process, which is called fast purchase. But today we are going to talk about the long way, the standard way, which is basically not that big of a deal and not that complicated. So we will talk about the chain of documents, which are the purchase order, the purchase invoice, and the bill of lading, which will actually compile all the package that you need to make an active purchase in your system. So the first document is the purchase order. Obviously, as you can see, there is nothing extraordinary here. We just have all the fields that are necessary to fill about the purchase and the vendor. So we fill out the fields, we set the date of the purchase order document, and we also can set the expected date, delivery dates. We set the basic quantities, base quantities that we are ordering in this document, and we also set the prices. Now you can see that I have highlighted the update actual received and billed button and the corresponding fields for that name. And this we will talk a bit later when we get to the point where we create the bill of lading. But what this function does is actually updates the information from within the bill of lading that might have been changed. So let's move to the next slide, which is the process of, which is the process of generating a purchase invoice from within the purchase order document. After filling up the purchase order, all you have to do is just to post the document and then click on generate and select the purchase invoice. This in hand will generate the purchase invoice for you and will allow you to make additions as required. The main thing to note here is we have to include the purchase invoice number, which is basically the vendor purchase invoice number. This is a manual process and has to be done. So after inputting that information and checking everything, we just click on generate and select bill of lading. And this will generate our bill of lading, which is the document, as has Gleb indicated, which will bring the inventory to our stocks and make them ready to rent, make them available for renting. So in this document, we set the date, which is basically the date that the consumables or the equipment becomes available for rent, and we choose the type of the bill of lading document. Now you can see that we have two types here, which is in and return, and this document can be used in different contexts, but in this case for the purchases we are only discussing the in type. So afterwards, as you can see, we also have the quantities, and in the purchase order, if you remember, I have set the quantity to 3, but we have received actually only 2 pallets of bottled water, so we changed the quantity right here. And if we move to the next slide, you can see that we can click on the update actual received and billed button, and this will update all the information that we have from the bill of lading. So updating process is necessary to keep track of actually what we have ordered and what we have received and what we have been billed for. So let's move on to the next slide, which is a report which you can use to see information about the consumable purchases. The report is called Inventory Purchases, and the shortcut to this report can be found under the Purchases menu. So the report shows basically information grouped by vendor and item. It shows the documents that were in the chain of the purchase, and it shows the quantity and the total amount for the purchase. Basically, this is everything that applies to consumable purchases in our system. And again, we have a simplified way, which is called Fast Purchase, which accommodates all these 3 steps inside one single window, and you can deal with it right within that window.
Okay, thank you very much, Arsen. So again, to wrap up this kind of presentation, I would, part of the presentation, I would remember that we were doing the purchase of the consumables, which are not serialized in our system. But now let us show you how you can do the purchases of the equipment when the equipment is serialized and when it has individual and unique unit numbers. And I would like Indre, our user support lead, to show this demo step by step. So that will be a very detailed workflow on how you process the purchase of the equipment in RigER.
Hello everyone. Let me show you how rental units purchase procedure works in RigER system and what is document workflow. It is very important to generate documents by the sequence in RigER, and purchase procedure consists of these documents. So it starts from purchase order, then purchase invoice, and finally generating a bill of lading. So let's say we would like to proceed a purchase for some rental equipment and add them to the inventory in RigER system. So we start purchase procedure by generating a purchase order. So we are going to purchase module in RigER system and selecting purchase order. Here we click generate and we are creating a new purchase order document. So in purchase order document, starting we select the correct document date when we are proceeding the purchase. We selecting the vendor from where we are purchasing the equipment. And this time I'll select our virtual vendor. Then you can enter the address, billing address, selecting the department for which we are purchasing the rental equipment. If it's required, you can select the tax schedule which will be applied for this purchase. Also, we can select a contact from the vendor with whom we will be dealing for this purchase procedure, and add all other required information for this purchase, like job number, customer PO number, and so on. And then we select, let's say we expecting to get this rental equipment on the 3rd of December. And then we just need to select what we are purchasing. So let's click add, and let's select, for example, generator 100 kilowatt. And let's say that we are purchasing quantity 2 of them, and the price, we are adding the price. Then let's say we are selecting, we are purchasing a second rental equipment, like generator 45 kilowatts, and we will be purchasing one of them, and let's add price for it. So when all the documents, when all information in purchase order is entered and all items, all equipment, rental equipment is added, we can post this document. So click post. So the next document by the workflow should be purchase invoice. So let's click generate and select purchase invoice. Purchase invoice will be generated, and the full list of equipment from purchase order will be added. But let's say we are getting not the full order, just at the moment we will be getting generators 100 kilowatts. So let's select the correct date. Let's say the 3rd day of December. Now we need to add the purchase invoice number. So it's manually entered field. So you can add the purchase invoice number, same from the invoice, what you are getting from the vendor. And then just let's click post, and purchase invoice is generated and posted. The next document is bill of lading. So let's click generate and select bill of lading. A new bill of lading document is generated, and here we need to select the unit numbers for this generator, which we are purchasing, because it's a serialized rental unit. Okay, so let's click here. And if we have already entered these unit numbers in the system, we can select from the list. If not, you can just click add and just enter a new unit number to add all the details about the unit, like module. It relates with the rental unit. It is related with the rental unit generator 100 kilowatts. So the serialized number, if you need, you can add a comment and all other information. Okay, at the moment for this purchase, I already have unit numbers added in the system. So I just select them. Okay. And let's don't forget to change the date to the correct one of the document when these unit numbers comes into the inventory and becomes available for the jobs. So then everything is correct here. We can click post, and 2 generators 100 kilowatts are purchased and becomes available in the system. So we can go back, for example, to purchase order, and there is a button update actual received and built. So we can click here, and now we can see that we already received and built 2 generators 100 kilowatts, and we are still waiting for one generator 45 kilowatts. And to check the balance of purchases, so we have a report for that. So if you go to purchase module, you can select PO control report, and in this report you can select the PO number, the department for which you want to check, or the vendor, and just click generate. So you can see all the details about the current situation with this purchase in this report too. So let's go back to purchase order, and let's say 2 days passed and we get the last item, the last equipment, what we purchase in this purchase order, the generator 45 kilowatts. So let's generate again the purchase invoice for that equipment, and system sees that generators 100 kilowatts was already invoiced and received. So in the next purchase invoice, system automatically adds only what's left on the purchase order, what's not invoiced and not received yet. So let's check all the details here. If everything okay, let's put the purchase invoice number. Okay. And let's just click post. So the next step, we can go back actually and check in purchase order the balance. So we can see the generator 45 kilowatts is built, and we need just receive them in the system. So to receive them in the system, we need to generate bill of lading. Let's go to purchase invoice, or we can do it from purchase order. So and generate bill of lading. So yes, here we need to select the unit number for this generator, which we are receiving. Let's click here, and I have already added the unit number in the system. If you don't have, you can click add and just create a new unit number in the system and select it. So let's select it, click OK. And if everything is okay, we can just post this bill of lading document, and let's go back to purchase order. And now if we check the balance, we can see that everything is received and everything is billed for this purchase order. So this is how the purchase procedure works in RigER system.
Thank you very much, Indra. And now let's do a short break and just to open the floor to your questions. So if you have any questions so far, please go ahead and raise it to us so we can address it.
Yep, thank you, Gleb, and thank you, Indra. Nikolai is here. So to those of you, again, who are first time on our webinar platform, if you pull your mouse down, there are a bunch of different icons, and one of them is a Q&A, so feel free to type up your question, and we will be able to answer it right away. And in the meantime, I have one question from Jenna, and the question is, what's the main difference between the fast purchase and the standard purchase?
Okay, so it's a good question because we haven't covered the fast purchase, but I think Jenna is already know about this feature or just interested about that. But basically, the main difference is that in case of the standard procedure, you generate documents one by one. So you start with the purchase order, then, and actually this workflow reflects your actual actions in the real life. So for example, you place the purchase order, then this purchase order has been approved by your vendor, and they submit a purchase invoice in 2-3 days or even 1 week. So in this case, the system allows you to post the purchase order and wait for the invoice. When the invoice comes up, you generate purchase invoice in RigER and you reflect all the information from that document. And then when you receive the equipment, you generate bill of ladings. In case of the fast purchase procedure, you will be doing all these documents like at a moment. So the system will allow you to record all the details about that purchase. Either it's a purchase invoice number, or it's purchase amount, the number of equipment. So everything will be entered on one screen, and when you hit generate button, 3 documents will be generated automatically, and this equipment will be posted to your balances in the system.
Thank you, Gleb. And I can see that there's another question from same person, Jenna. So, the question reads, so in other words, I can always use fast purchases because it seems faster.
It does, and you are right. Yeah, it is really faster, but again, you can use this functionality when we usually recommend you use this functionality for the past purchases when you just need to reflect these events in your system. But if you are doing the real-time procedure of the purchasing, so we would recommend to generate documents one by one.
Thank you, Gleb. And I just wanted to comment myself on it a little bit. I know that we've showed a very detailed process of how you create all the, or how you follow the purchasing process from the PO to PI and to the bill of lading. Usually in real life, when you start using and working on the system, it doesn't take that long because you would know what and how to enter the information into the system, and then you would be a quick go with that. Okay, well, thank you, Jenna, for the questions. I don't see any more questions from our guests right now, so let's keep moving. And I wanted to let you know that if you have any questions, again, to our guests, at any moment throughout the presentation, feel free to type them up right there into the Q&A panel, and we will be able to address them at the end. There will be another Q&A part at the end of this webinar.
All right, good. Thank you very much, Nikolai. And let's move to the expense claim document, which is another type of the expense or purchase that you can track in the system. And Arsen, please go ahead and cover this topic.
Yeah, sure. All right, let's talk about the expense claim. Now, expense claim is a relatively new document in our system. It's a part of a purchases module, but as you can see, it is located mainly under the Oilfield Rentals menu. The main reason for this is that the expense claim is considered to be used by your field technicians and your field personnel, and that people do not usually have access levels for the purchases module. Otherwise said, this is the only place that the field technician or the person in the field would be able to see, either in his cloud operations or in his mobile device, the expense claim document. So what it is a simple document that will allow you to indicate the amount that you have spent on the actual field trip maybe, or to something that you had to attend, and the purpose. So we indicate the date, we select the actual vendor, we can input the invoice number, we can also include a note for the expense claim, and we have several fields that are hard-coded into the system. The meal, the travel, the hotel, and other services are mapped to existing services in our system, which used to might have a price in the system or might not, but you can also edit these fields inside this document. You also select the client and the RSA, which are auto-populated vice versa when you select one of them, and the location. So when you do this and you approve the expense claim document, when you approve it, you have the opportunity to click on the generate button and actually create a service ticket for this particular expense. So if we move to the next slide, you can see that process illustrated. And yeah, you click on the generate button and select the service ticket, and in the system under this RSA for this client, under this rental service agreement, a rental ticket type of service is created, and all the expenses indicated inside this document are also going to be transferred to that particular ticket. Let's move on to the next slide. And when you click on the related document inside the expense claim document, you can see that the ticket has been created. You can see the number, and by double clicking on that particular ticket name, you can access the actual ticket. So the ticket, as you can see, auto-populates all the information inside the expense claim, and all you have to do is to post this particular ticket to make the action active in the system. And after posting, let's move to the next slide and see what happens. After posting, we are able to actually generate an invoice, and the invoice will include all the expenses that we have indicated in the expense claim, which will transfer to our service ticket, and we can invoice this amount to the client. So basically, this is the simple structure of the document of the expense claim.
Okay, good. Thank you very much, Arsen. Now let's move on to the next part of our presentation, which is the incoming service and chargeback function in RigER. It may be it may look a little bit similar, but basically the incoming services and chargeback functionality allows you to connect your incoming costs versus clients' charges. So basically what chargeback functions do is tracking your incoming purchase invoice. Either it's consumables or supplies or something else or services, and then you'll be able to convert it to the client's job and attach it to the client's job with a markup on the incoming charges and costs, and also the system will generate a delivery ticket type service with all these items included, and then you'll be able to generate invoice for your customer and invoice them with these charges. So yes, as I said, so once you've posted the incoming purchase invoice on the chargeback tab, you just specify to what kind of job we need to attach this invoice, and the system generates delivery ticket service with these 3 items and quantity applied to this job. And now let's take a look at the detailed demo presentation of the chargeback functionality, how it actually works in the system. And yes, please, Indra, show us that functionality.
Let me show you how chargeback operation works in RigER system. Let's say you need to charge the client for the fuel he used during the job, and you need to track the purchase of it in the system too. We have a running job in RigER, so we have an created RSA for the client, and we need to charge back the client for the fuel. We start chargeback procedure by generating a purchase order in the system. So to generate a purchase order in RigER, we are going to purchase module and selecting a purchase order. Let's click create, and a new purchase order document is generated. Now we need to select all the details for the purchase order. So let's select the vendor. In this case, I will be selecting a virtual vendor. Let's select the department. And if you need to, you can add another information for this purchase order, like contact person from the vendor, phone, email address, and so on. And let's add a delivery date. Let's say it will be today. And now click add and select an item, a fuel, which you will be purchasing. And let's add the quantity, 50, and the price. Okay, so when all the information is added here, we can post the document. The next step in purchase procedure is to generate a purchase invoice. Let's click generate button and select purchase invoice. A new purchase invoice document is generated in the system. So now let's enter a purchase invoice number. And the fuel, the item from purchase order, is added automatically. The base quantity and the price is added too. So when everything is correct, we can post this document. And the last step in purchase procedure is to generate a bill of lading. So let's click generate and select bill of lading. And here we check all the details in bill of lading. If everything is correct, we click post it. So now if we want to charge the client for this fuel, we're going back to purchase invoice, and here is a chargeback tab. So we click it, and let's add a client and a job and a RSA for this client, which we will be charging for this fuel. Okay, let's select the client, let's select RSA. We can add the date is today and the amount of this purchase invoice, 75. Okay, so now when everything is added here, if you need, you can enter a note too. Let's post again purchase invoice. And the next step would be to generate a rental ticket service for this purchase invoice. Let's click generate button, and you can see that a new rental ticket service is generated for this client for this RSA. We can click a link of this rental ticket, and rental ticket will be opened. So we can check details here. And if everything is correct, we click post. So now, don't forget to enter the field technician. It's a mandatory field in rental ticket. So now we can post it. And now we can generate an invoice for this service, what we provided for the fuel, which we delivered for the client, and send the invoice to the client. So we can generate a service invoice from rental ticket, or we can go to RSA directly. Both ways are working to generate an invoice, and just click generate, select the service invoice. You can select an invoice date and click generate. So now we have a generated invoice with fuel added in it, and with the base quantity of 50 and the price 150. So we can post this invoice and send it to the client. So this is how the chargeback procedure works in RigER system. So you can charge client for the used fuel, and at the same time you can track the purchase of it in the RigER system.
Okay, thank you very much, Indra. I will just add that even if you use the fast purchase functionality of RigER system, you will still be able to use the chargeback, because you can access it, the chargeback tab in the purchase invoice that will be generated by the fast purchase automation tool. So you can anytime go to the purchase invoice and just convert these incoming costs to the client's charges.
Perfect. Thank you, Indra. Thank you, Gleb. Again, like I said, the Q&A session is open, so feel free to type up your questions. And I have, in the meantime, a question now from Linda. So the question that I've got from Linda is that, can you repeat again, what's the difference between the expense report and the chargeback function?
Yes, that's a good question. And actually, the expense report is a little bit simpler document that actually represents your field expenses that should be tied to the client's job. But basically, it's just your field trips expenses, fuel, maybe accommodation, maybe dining, etc. But if you want to precisely track components or some kind of spare parts or some kind of supplies in the system, then you should be using the chargeback. Because on the expense claim side, there is no good opportunity to track the incoming costs. It only tracks the actual expenses, and then you convert to the client's invoice. But in case of the chargeback function, you are starting with the vendor's purchase invoice, so you track all the details from that document, and then you can even partially convert it to the client's job.
Perfect. I hope that helps, Linda, and thank you for your question again. One more question I see from Jenna again. Thank you, Jenna, for being active, actively asking us questions. So the question reads: there's a lot of fields in both the PO and other documents. Do I need to fill them out all?
Okay, let me take this one. No, you don't, basically. All the fields that are mandatory and you need to fill out will be indicated with a red dotted notation for each field. So the ones that do not have those red dotted notations are not mandatory. And basically, there are very few fields inside every document that are mandatory. So not all fields need to be included, but the information included is for reference and can be used later on.
Perfect, thank you. I hope that helps, Jenna. So it's not created to make your life easier, rather work harder. It's created to make your life easier. And you have seen in the demo that Indra was showing, so if the mandatory field is not filled out, the system will always show a reminder, or a prompt will show up on a screen saying that this field has to be filled out. So that's just to make sure that the critical pieces of information in every document are collected, because that those pieces of information flow from one document to another and have to be captured right there in the moment. But thanks for the question again. It was a great one. I don't see any more questions. I think that's a good sign, or maybe it's not a good sign, but you tell me, our participants. So a good sign, it means that you understood everything that we've covered today and you don't have any questions, or there may be too much actually to talk about, and then you may still be a little bit confused. In the latter case, feel free to reach out to us by any means, and I want to move to another slide. So you can always reach out to us through our website or social media or the phone that is on the website as well, so feel free to send us an email as well. support@RigER.ca is the easiest email to reach out to us. So you'll get to into the right hands of the interest team. But in the meantime, I wanted to bring up to your attention that next week we're going to be hosting another webinar, not on purchases this time, but it's going to be on another exciting topic of integrations with accounting software. In particular, we're going to be talking about integrations with QuickBooks, which seems to be the very popular accounting software that is used by a lot of companies of different sizes in the oilfield services and rentals. So we have that standing integration with that application, where we're going to be talking about how it works, what it does, and what kind of benefit you get out of when you implement that integration with RigER and the QuickBooks. So in the meantime, I wanted to wrap up this webinar. So it's been a pleasure to talk to you today, our audience, and to get to your questions and answer some of them. So again, like I said, feel free to reach out with any other questions. In the offline mode, we're always here to help. So thank you very much for being with us, and thank you, our panel.
Thank you very much, all of them, all of you, and let's talk next Thursday.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.